days here in Chicago. You got to be up early to watch some baseball. Another day game here at Wrigley Field. The Phillies fans and the Cubs fans getting together for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Phils and the Chicago Cubs. You know, when Harry Carey was alive and calling games for the Chicago Cubs, at the end of every 7th-inning stretch, he would say, "Let's get some runs." That is not a problem this year for the Chicago Cubs. Their run differential is head and shoulders above everybody else in Major League Baseball. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Matt Stairs. We'll hear from Greg Murphy in just a little bit. Well, the Cubs offense is fantastic. We'll talk about that a little later on. But what we have to talk about is the Phillies pitching staff and how they have to learn to quiet this Cubs offense, at least over the next couple of weeks, because they'll face them so much. And today it's Jared Eichhoff's responsibility.
Well, it's his responsibility. And one thing I like about Jared Eichhoff, he had a very good bullpen session going into his last outing versus the Atlanta Braves. He worked on a lot of mechanics, worked on getting on top of that baseball and working downhill. And honestly, this game here against the Braves, he had one of the best curveballs he's had since he's been in the big leagues. I just like the fact that it had a really light break. Seemed like earlier it was just kind of rolling out of his hand and going there and it was saying, "Please hit me." Well, this time all of a sudden it was set up because of the fastball inside, which made the curveball even better. He was up and down the zone, moving the ball all around, in and out to lefties and righties. But his composure, being able to throw strikes early, getting very good defense right here with the 3-6-1 double play. But just being able to go out there and pound the strike zone, I think really helped him out.
And I think from a confidence standpoint, coming into this outing, it's going to help him. Now, his numbers home and road are staggeringly different. Why is that? Is there any reason?
Well, if I had the answer, I'd go down and tell him, honestly. I mean, I think it's baseball. I think it's one of those guys where he feels comfortable pitching at home. Maybe on the road, he's just one of those guys who gets out of a different rhythm. But, you know, I expect tonight he had 2 good bullpens. He had a good outing versus the Atlanta Braves. So I expect him tonight to go out and have a good game plan, pound the strike zone, and mix in that curveball.
All right, well, speaking of the Phillies pitching staff, the numbers from April to May are very similar. But there are some things that show you that the teams are adjusting to the Phillies' success.
Well, I think the biggest thing right here is the bullpen ERA is 4.2 in April, now 3.17 in May. Well, look at the strikeouts per 9 innings, 10.10, 7.86, which tells me that hitters now facing the bullpen, they want to be aggressive. They know they have that put-away pitch, the split-finger fastball, the big curveballs. So they're swinging earlier. That's why they're getting earlier outs quicker.
All right, so what does Bob McClure think about his team from April to May? Well, Greg Murphy had a chance to sit down and chat with him.
All right, thanks very much, Tom. Yeah, here with pitching coach Bob McClure, and we're just having a little conversation. But we just saw the numbers for April and May of the Phil's pitching staff. And, you know, the thing that jumps out is the guys have been fairly consistent right on through. You've been pleased with that?
Yeah, I have been pleased by that. You know, not only the numbers, but it correlates to us, you know, helping us win games and things like that. So I have been, you know, numbers don't lie. And the guys have been fairly consistent. I think, you know, they can even be more consistent.
Jared Eichhoff was really good his last outing, and I remember the conversation I had with him after the game was he said, in my bullpen sessions with Bob, I've been working on getting back to the basics, and it did look like that's what he was able to do. More of the same today?
Yeah, hopefully. You know, I think because the Jared was a little bit behind with the broken thumb, I think that he went through a period where there was a little dead arm also, and that happens a couple times a year. And I think he went through where he was pushing to try and get that velocity and was having a little trouble with that as far as command goes, because it's like golfing, when you swing too hard, you know, you actually lose distance. So he's kind of getting back to the basics of just getting the ball from point A to point B.
We watched Adam Morgan yesterday facing a very tough Chicago Cubs lineup, but he struggled with his command, it looked like. And I know that you had a conversation with him today about the next step for him. What would that be?
Well, actually, you know, in demonstrating it, if you watch a John Lester, a CC Sabathia, or a Bumgarner, or even a Kershaw, not relating stuff-wise, but position-wise, just like a golf swing. In a golf swing, they are all at the same point. No matter how they take it back, they might take it back like Jim Furyk, out to in, but when they get to the ball, they're right here, head down, right to the ball. Well, when you watch John Lester and Sabathia and Bumgarner and all those really, really good pitchers with command, is their head, when they go to release the ball, their head, they are throwing around their head, and they are this way. Adam goes to throw the ball, and he is this way. And that has always been a problem I felt, but I wanted Adam to get into the position where he's comfortable being in the big leagues, where he's not overwhelmed by the big leagues before I start changing things. He's at that point now where the inconsistency is going to catch up with him because he's facing hitters that he's faced before. So I believe for him to get into that position, throwing around your head, getting the head going and everything going straight at home plate is going to help his command, which is going to help him get people out and not be inconsistent. Now, you may get hit, you may not, but you have to get the ball from point A to point B consistently.
And that kind of change, is it it doesn't sound like a quick fix.
No, and you know what? It's going to take a while. It is. And he's going to almost feel like he's throwing sidearm, but he's not. It's just that he's thrown this way, and he's always been effectively wild because he can change speeds, he's very competitive, and he always has kind of been able to figure out a way to get around it. But you can only do that for so long before you really got to do kind of it's not a complete overhaul, it's just getting back to basics, what's right and here's what's wrong.
All right, well, it's certainly it's always a work in progress when you're a pitching coach in the big leagues. Bob, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Tom, let's send it back upstairs to you.
All right, Murph, thank you very much. As the fans get ready for today's start between Jared Eickhoff and Kyle Hendricks, we'll also get you ready as well, as we'll get a chance to talk about Kyle Hendricks and also this Cubs offense when we return to Wrigley Field. It's been an interesting year so far for Chicago, and for Hendricks, well, he has been able to thrive at times on the Cubs offense, but not every single time, including his last couple starts. He's hoping for Soler and Ross and all those other guys to provide some pop to back his pitching. We'll discuss that when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales event. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. By Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Phils. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Shots outside the ballpark. You know, if you walk along Addison, you might be able to find a place to get a pop. or maybe a bite to eat before the start of today's ball game. It is Kyle Hendricks against Jared Eickhoff. Eickhoff will have to deal with the same kind of offense that Adam Morgan had to deal with yesterday, although there's a little bit of a tweak to it. Rizzo and Hayward were not in the lineup yesterday. They're in the lineup today.
Well, this is an offensive group where if you make a mistake, they will make you pay. These guys just don't miss mistake pitches. Yesterday in the first inning, Soler gets a base hit here. Big knock, I thought, with 2 outs, being able to get that early run. Then all of a sudden he comes up again later on, hits an absolute bomb off the Jack Daniels sign in left field. Ross, he decides he wants to jump in with a 3-run home run as well. His 100th of his career. Why not young Bryant get in there and hit an absolute towering shot to left field. So yesterday they hit the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup all for home runs. And it's just the type of team, when you make a mistake, they will make you pay.
32 wins. The margin of victory is nearly 5 runs. It's an amazing number. In fact, it's historic in some stretches. 17 wins by 5 or more, most in Major League Baseball. Last year, they only had 16 5-run wins. So we know they can hit. And can they pitch? Well, the guy that's considered their number 5 starter is the guy that's going today. He's not overpowering. He doesn't get a lot of run support, but his numbers are pretty good.
Well, they are Kyle Hendricks. He's not an overpowering guy. He might top out at 88, 89. He's feeling pretty good. He might hit 90 once in a while, but he relies on pitching at the bottom of the zone. He has a very good changeup, which is his best pitch, but he throws 2 different types of changeup. He'll throw a changeup that fades away from the left-handed hitters, and he'll throw a cut change to right-handers. A lot of guys look off speed. All of a sudden, he'll surprise him with that quick fastball inside. He just goes out there and he pounds the strike zone. Now you see the first 3 starts, 1 and 2 with a 4.5 ERA. His last 5 starts, 2.5 ERA. The reason why is he found the grip. He started throwing that changeup for strikes, and he started getting a lot of swing and misses.
Now, he has not gotten a win in his last 3 outings. That is because the Cubs have averaged only 2 runs per game during those outings. All right, so we're almost set for today's game. Game 2 of this 3-game series. When we return, we'll go to the Comcast Sportsnet studios. And Matt's got his lunch already devoured and ready to go. And here are the Cubs taking the field.
I swear that camera will not be there tomorrow.
Well, before the start of the ball game today, Greg Murphy's favorite wide receiver, Alshon Jeffrey of the Chicago Bears and the University of South Carolina, threw out the ceremonial first pitch. And he will sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" a little later on. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Phillies. Brought to you by Xfinity. The Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Herrera, Galvis, and Franco, followed by Ryan Howard, Cameron Rupp, and Cesar Hernandez. David Lowe is in left field today, batting 7th. Jared Eichhoff will bat 8th. And batting 9th at playing right. Wait, it's still a muscle memory thing. Batting 9th and playing right field is Peter Borges, and they will face right-hander Kyle Hendricks, who is batting 9th today and is making his 9th start. He's 2-4, an excellent ERA of 3.30. Not a strikeout pitcher. He is 38 and 46 in the third, but you see what the opposition has done against him. And Matty keeps the ball down, and that's why he's only allowed 2 home runs this year.
Well, he has to. You can see right here in the scouting report, he's not an overpowering pitcher. He lives right around 86 to 89. Now, he is a 4-pitch pitcher, but you could technically say he has a couple extra pitches because the way he throws his changeup to left-handers, he likes to throw that changeup away from the left-handers. Now, all of a sudden, when a right-hander comes up, he likes to throw that little cut changeup. Now, that's the scouting report, and I'm interested to see because I don't think I've ever seen a cut changeup before.
Yeah, because on video, it's not as noticeable as they say it is watching him in person. Time now for the Nissan keys to this afternoon's ball game.
Well, the first one to me, I think, is very important for the Phillies hitters. You have to use your legs when you're hitting. And what I mean by that is he loves to throw those changeups. If all of a sudden you come out of your stance, you're going to hit a lot of weak ground balls. So when you're on that back leg and it's bent, you have to use your legs the whole way through the swing. Do not come out of it. And 2, Eichhoff locked the fastball in early in the game. It's very good when you throw strikes with that fastball to set up that very good curveball.
Well, Odubel Herrera will stroll to the plate to start this afternoon's ball game off. Odubel picked up a hit in his final 2 at-bats yesterday. He is ready to go. Smile everywhere. Sunglasses are on for a moment. It is an overcast afternoon. First pitch is cut out and missed. He was ready to swing right away. It's 0-1. So we're underway from Wrigley Field. Another sellout. So the sun will pop out eventually, but there are also some storms again that are scheduled for later on. So when Matt goes to the Beyonce concert later at Soldier Field, he's going to have to bring his umbrella. 1 ball, 1 strike to Odubel. Phillies lost yesterday 6-2. Cubs hit 3 home runs. And a bunt toward the third base side. Hendricks off the mound, bare hands and throws high, and he's safe at first base. Base hit for Odubel Herrera to start the ball game. Nice play by Hendricks. He just couldn't make the throw. Clean throw might have had him.
Yeah, clean throw probably would have had him, but getting into that batter's box with good speed, rushing the throw by a pitcher, you can see it just got him off the bag.
There was a little bit of regret yesterday that the Phillies did not force the issue more against John Lester. Murph and I talked to Freddie Galvis before the ball game today. You know, just about running a little bit more, maybe bunting a little bit more. Swing and a miss. It's 0-1. And talking to Larry Bowa a little bit, Pete McCannon, I think there was a little bit of regret that they didn't make Lester move off the mound a little bit more.
Understandable, but I don't understand. It's baseball, and if you have a game plan, you can stick with it.
Yeah, that's true. 0-1 to Galvis. Galvis 1 for 5 yesterday. Odubel goes, and the pitch is fouled at home plate. And it's no balls and 2 strikes.
You know, you shouldn't have to sit back and say, okay, well, is Pete going to give me the bunt sign for a base hit, which he has? Is he going to tell me to steal, which he doesn't have to? As a player and as a team, you should take that responsibility, saying, you know, I'm going to push the button today, and I'm going to make Lester get out of his comfort zone. So maybe that's the lesson learned you're seeing already, having guys in motion early in this game.
0-2 pitch coming to Galvis. A throw over, and Herrera is out at first base. He wanted to go in motion. He went back high to the first base bag. No argument for Mickey Morandini.
Yeah, you can see him leaning to the right. They caught up no man's land right there. Should never happen. The right-hander should never pick off a base runner at first base.
It goes 1-3.
And I shouldn't say never, but you should know the scouting report if he has a quick move to first base. Left is yes, right is no.
And a strike 3 call on the inside part of the plate. 2 outs. That is what Hendricks needs to do. He needs to spot his pitches.
This is a strike. I thought the pitch previous was a strike. That cuts the middle of the plate. That's just the front door sinker.
Well, the nickname for Kyle Hendricks is the Professor. He has a finance degree from Dartmouth. He is from California, from Mission Viejo. And he said one of the toughest decisions he made was after he was drafted out of high school. He said he was offered an opportunity to go to an Ivy League school, and some folks said he was crazy. He said, but how can I pass up an Ivy League education? He said baseball will be there at the end, and he was right. It was. Drafted in the 8th round in 2011 by the Rangers. Back toward the middle. Franco is retired, and the side goes down quietly for the Phils. So Jared Eickhoff will go to work when we return to Wrigley Field. It's the Phillies nothing and the Cubs coming up. Bad base running, which has been an issue for a good portion of this year. Go down quietly in their half of the first. Now let's take a look at the Cubs lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Fowler, Hayward is back in the lineup, and Bryant. Rizzo's over at first base today batting cleanup. Zobrist down to the 5-hole. Jorge Soler will bat 6th and left in the bottom third of Montero, Russell, and Kyle Hendricks, and they will face right-hander Jared Eickhoff, the 25-year-old who is 2-6 with an ERA of 3.86. Excited about the chance to pitch at Wrigley Field for the first time. And Matt, he's hoping to build on his last outing, which was excellent against a Braves team that's not the same as these Chicago Cubs.
Not the same, no. And he's hoping to build off from his last outing, and that doesn't mean by having great success. It means by having good command of that fastball.
First fastball is outside to Fowler. It's 1 ball and no strikes. Fowler 318, 5 home runs, 23 runs batted in.
If we take a look at the scouting report on Jared Eickhoff, living right around 91.1 mile an hour, 4-pitch pitcher, doesn't use the slider and the change a lot, but when that curveball's on, it's unhittable.
Outside again, 3-0, so he's missed in that spot twice and missed with the other one just low. And quickly, it's 3-0 to Fowler, who has a .432 on base percentage. He did have a base hit in yesterday's game. Four straight fastballs from Jared Eickhoff. The wind is blowing out here at Wrigley Field. Fly ball left field. David Lowe, Odubel Herrera back toward the wall, and it blows right on out of here. That is a routine fly ball that just carried into the bleachers for Dexter Fowler's 6th home run of the year. It's 1-0 Cubs. Mama said there'd be days like this at Wrigley Field.
That's just a straight uppercut swing, and Tom, you nailed it right there, but wind blowing that out of the ballpark.
Odubel Herrera and David Lowe looked like they had that sized up a handful of different times. So it's 1-0 Cubs. They scored a first-inning run yesterday as Hayward takes a strike. See the breeze blowing the trees. I mean, it's whipping right now. As strong as it was going from right to left yesterday, that's how strong as it is going out to center field today. It could change as the day moves on. Outside, 2-1. Hayward missed the last several days because of a contusion to his rib cage area. Off the hands, down the right field line, and it's going to drop. And Hayward's on his way to second. No man's land. 7th double of the year for a struggling Jason Hayward. And a runner at second base with nobody out. Chris Bryant stepping to the plate. He homered in yesterday's ball game.
You get a fastball inside from Adam Morgan. He did not miss that pitch. He was actually located pretty good. Just didn't get in far enough, and he drove out to left field.
He gets that same swing today. The bleachers behind the new Veen sign across the street, across Sheffield. Or Waveland, I should say.
Be Glen Allen Hill seats.
Yeah, it's. Fouled off to the right. Tied for first in RBIs with 36. So he hit the ball yesterday through the new Veen sign. If he hits that ball today, it's going to go into the sea of Phillies fans that are up there on that rooftop. Off the hands, back towards second, right past Hayward. A good play by Cesar Hernandez for the first out.
Hayward's a little frustrated at himself at second base because he didn't advance to third. But as that ball was hit right back at him, wasn't sure if he thought maybe it was hit a little harder, knowing that Hernandez is playing in the middle more. You can see right here, he gets jammed awful bad. You know, that's not a bad read. It really isn't. I mean, you can't really determine how hard it's hit. You can't tell. It's hit like a Martina Navratilova serve up the middle, so he froze on him.
So break for the Phils. A runner at second instead of third with one out. Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo takes a breaking ball inside. I think there was a cross-up. Rump will head out to the mound. Good job by Cameron to be able to catch that ball. If it was a fastball and he was asking for a curve, it might have been a different story. Jared grew up in Evansville, Indiana. It's about a 5.5-hour ride from here in Chicago. He's got about 11 friends and family who have made the trip. He had more in St. Louis. St. Louis closer to Evansville than Chicago. Fly ball deep to right field. Borges is under it. It's going to stay in the yard. He'll make the catch. Hayward will go to third. 2 outs. Today's game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television or change the language through the menu on your cable box.
to believe that so far we've seen 4 hitters. We've seen some big swings. This is what you're going to be calling a back leg swing today, where everything collapses. You put all your weight in your back of your leg.
Let it fly.
Straight uphill. It's kind of like old time baseball. That's how they used to swing back in the day. Let it get deep and just hit it on the upper swing. The uppercut.
And Zobrist, switch hitter. Yesterday, 2 for 4 from the right side of the plate, batting lefty today. The curveball in the dirt, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Honestly, these are the days that I was a real dumb hitter.
Because you back-legged it like that?
No, because these are the days I'd hit 4 ground balls.
So you didn't back-leg it.
Right, I was really dumb. I tried to back leg and I tried to just hit it a little too far.
I always wondered if you were familiar with playing here. Let's say if you're Anthony Rizzo or Chris Bryant, when you walk out, you look at the flag and say, oh man, this is going to be my day.
It's the first thing you do when you get to the ballpark. You park your car, which way is the flags blowing?
Just a bit outside, 3-1. Jared's wanted a few of these pitches. All right, so it's shifted a little bit. Is that why Rizzo's ball stayed in the yard?
He got knocked down.
Zobrist 350 with 6 home runs and 31 runs batted in. He'll be followed by Jorge Soler.
I haven't seen that good curveball yet.
Opposite way down the left field line. That'll be in for a base hit. A run will score. Zobrist on his way to second, and he's there standing with an RBI double. It's the 3rd extra base hit of the inning for the Cubs, and they're on top 2-0. That's his 11th double of the year.
Check the location. That's where Cameron wanted the ball. Tip your hat to the hitter. That was a nice job of hitting that ball to left field.
Well, the Phillies are going to play from behind for his 2nd straight day. And Jorge Soler is now the batter, and he takes a breaking ball, and it's in for a strike. It's 0-1. Well, you wanted one, Matt. There it is.
Well, it's only his 3rd attempt at throwing a curveball. The other ones were just kind of spinning out of his hand, and we talked about that in the open. This is what you call a very good curveball. That's what you call not recognizing or not picking up the spin.
This time he throws it toward the outer edge, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. I would have thrown it at him again. Soler yesterday had 2 RBIs, including that home run that we showed you during the open and the RBI single. 1 ball, 1 strike. Outside, 2-1.
This is the one that came off that curveball. That ball was in that happy zone and absolutely crushed in left field. Right off the Jack Daniels sign, which would be the Velveeta sign today.
Whiskey to cheese from one day to another. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Soler. Curveball on the inside corner, strike 3 call. Well, he threw a couple of good ones to Soler, but the Cubs strike first with 2 runs, 3 extra base hits. They leave 1. We'll head to the 2nd. It's 2-0 Chicago. Which means we're a step closer to the Xfinity fireworks shows here in 2016. Friday, July 1st, after the game against the Royals, followed up with a special start time on Saturday the 2nd of 5:50 at another fireworks show. Tickets are available for the 3 games against the Royals by going to Phillies.com. Royals have been the tough luck losers this year in the Central. The injuries have started to catch up with them, although they're only a game back in the division. As Ryan Howard takes inside, 1 ball, no strikes. Howard 0 for 1 yesterday. He came on late as part of a double switch. It'll be Howard, Cameron Rupp, and Cesar Hernandez. Inside, 2 balls, 1 strike.
All right, so the first pitch he came inside hard. He went away with a 2-seamer. Third pitch now he comes in hard. Let's see if he gets in that pattern. Now he wants to go back out with a 2-seamer away or something off speed.
Well, Montero is setting up away, and Howard waves at a pitch that missed the spot, but it was a changeup, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
So we always talk about you're just not necessarily throwing a pitch. You're throwing a pitch for a purpose. And you start thinking inside. Next thing you know, you pull the string, throw the changeup away, and that's what happens on a 2-1 situation.
3-2 pitch to Howard, and he fouls it back. He was just a tad out front. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Sarah Yorgi of Royersford. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game, and Sarah will win $200.
I have a feeling she's going to win $200 today.
Wind is blowing out again. And Howard out front of that off-speed pitch. Second strikeout for Hendricks. 1 away. Cameron Rupp is coming up. All right, Murph. So we've seen 2 strikeouts and 1 ground ball that's been recorded as an out. And Kyle Hendricks is a ground ball pitcher.
Yeah, when he is going well, that is exactly what he is doing. He's getting guys to hit it on the ground. And Matt, you talked about it right at the beginning. One of your keys to the game for the Phillies hitters, they got to use their legs. They've got to stay down and through the ball, because that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to hit it on the ground, and he uses that changeup to do that, to get you to roll over on it and hit weak ground balls. In fact, 58% of the changeups that he throws result in ground balls. So it's a very effective pitch for him. It's what has made him effective this year. It's up by about 10% over the last 2 years, his ability to get the outs on the changeup. 58% ground ball, balls hit on the ground. So that is a lot, and for a place like this, and when the wind is blowing out, that's exactly who you want to have on the mound. So the Phillies are going to have to be patient and then stay through that ball, as Matt pointed out.
Well, there's the distribution of outs as the year has moved on. 50% ground ball outs. Swing and a miss today. It's more strikeouts than ground outs. That's 3 strikeouts for Hendricks. But I think you can see what Murph's talking about as far as the off-speed pitch goes and pitching down in the strike zone.
But I mean, if you look at this, is a changeup. This is a changeup inside. Bottom drops out of it. You know, Cameron really thought backwards all 3 pitches. He took 2 fastballs down the middle and swung at the changeup in the dirt. Been there, done it. Yes. You just watch how many baseballs that Hendricks throws up in the zone. He threw 2 to Ryan Howard. That's really the only 2 balls that have been up elevated today.
1 ball, 1 strike to Cesar, who had 2 hits in yesterday's ball game. And he pulls it on the right side. Rizzo's got it. Hendricks is there to cover, and the side is retired. Pretty quick inning for Kyle Hendricks. 3-1 on the put out there. Nothing across for the Phils. We'll head to the bottom of the second here at Wrigley Field. It's 2-0 Chicago. national system of Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans that cover more than 100 million members across the country. Live fearless. Learn more at ibx.com/biz. Last of the second, Cubs jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first. Jared Eichhoff will go to work against the bottom third of the order. For the Cubs, it'll be Montero, Addison Russell, and Kyle Hendricks. Montero did not play yesterday. It was David Ross who did the catching. Montero hitting .217 with a home run and 8 RBIs. It's just missing in that same spot to start the hitters off, particularly the left-handed hitters. Montero is a switch hitter who the Cubs picked up from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Fastball toward the outer edge. Let's see if he gets that spot. He does, and it's fouled down the left field line.
So that used to be Montero's bread and butter pitch. Is that fastball low and away? Because he has that great, powerful swing to left center. So those last two he's got beat on. I just like to see, and so far I think it's safe to say that they've got in a routine of pitching the lefties low and away. You know, they haven't really moved anyone's feet, and I know we've talked about it all year, and I know they don't do a whole lot of baseball anymore, but it just makes that curveball so much better, and it makes your two-seam fastball so much better when you start pitching inside for a purpose. It doesn't have to be for a strike. I mean, this is a very good curveball right here, late break back door. But just think all of a sudden, if you throw a couple fastballs inside, you're not looking out over the plate.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, particularly with somebody or this staff that has a lot of guys that throw the curveball. That ball is pulled through the hole on the left side by Addison Russell. Pitch that was up in the zone. So he's aboard with a 1-out single. And that'll bring Hendricks to the plate. Hendricks is not much of a hitter. He's 1 for 15 this year. It's probably an interesting matchup right here because these two guys were both drafted by the Texas Rangers in the 2011 drafts. Jared was drafted in the 15th round. Hendricks was drafted in the 8th round. Jared out of a junior college. Hendricks out of a 4-year school. They both, because they threw so many innings in college the year they were drafted, they were both assigned to the same rookie ball team. And they knew both would eventually be starting pitchers, but because their innings count was so high, they both were closers for the same team. That one's blooped out to right field. Borges is coming out. He's not going to get there. So much for being not much of a hitter. Runners on first and second with 1 out. The Rangers were so strict on the innings limit that they were closers for the same team, but they were never allowed to pitch on back-to-back days. So that's where Eichhoff and Hendricks got to know each other. And both eventually traded from the Rangers. Hendricks was traded for Ryan Dempster, who was one of the big pitchers in the Cubs organization at the time, and Eichhoff was traded for Cole Hamels, who was the biggest pitcher in the Phillies organization at the time. Here's Dexter Fowler, who homered the opposite way. Fowler has now scored 33 runs from that leadoff spot.
There, 3-1. There's a cookie 3-1 pitch. Hits it straight up in the air. Tom, you said it earlier. That ball blown up with the wind. Blown up the left field that night.
By the way, the wind has shifted again. It is blowing out again. Foul tip. He was looking to get it up into the wind again. 1 ball, 1 strike. 18 miles per hour out of the southwest.
feels a lot muggier today than it was yesterday.
It does. Off-speed pitch. That's a pretty good pitch.
Good location to change it. That's where you want to be at.
Better have a strong back to sit out there. It'll be fouled on the right field line. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. He guessed right on the location.
Look, and I loved it. Yeah, it was a nice swing. What's the end result? It's a foul ball, right? Now that ball came back a little bit too much. But if he tries to keep that ball fair, now all of a sudden he tries to do something with the swing, and it absolutely destroys his bat. The only thing he could do with that pitch is hit a foul.
Lifted in the air to left field. Not deep. Low is there. Odubel's calling him off, and he makes the catch. That made it a little more dramatic than it needed to be.
Well, I think we need to, there'll be a conversation at the bottom of the inning, or the top of the inning, sorry, going in saying, listen, the wind's blowing, everything's going to left field. You don't have to be that guy that wants to catch everything in the outfield. This is basically straightaway left field. Now, I like the fact that he's being aggressive and he wants to catch it, but let's stay away from some collisions.
Yeah, you don't have to be Kelly Leak today.
No. Or like the Texas Rangers last night.
Right. 2 outs, and here is Jason Hayward. Hayward doubled and scored his last time to the plate. Metcalf trying to work out a little bit of a jam here in the second. Curveball on the outside corner. That's been an effective spot for that curve today.
I'll just make sure I stay away from trying to say collision today.
I think he got to it eventually.
Good
fastball,
pitch.
good spot. 0-2.
Now come back inside again. 6 inches higher and a little farther inside. Don't play the way you come inside, then all of a sudden you're going to throw a backdoor curveball. Double up inside.
He throws a curve that Rupp is able to block. And 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Nice play right here. That's quick. How quick he gets down to block that ball.
Just didn't get it there enough. If he got it close, the umpire's calling it.
He's calling it. Plus, as a left-handed hitter, you give up on that ball. You have thinking there's no chance, one, that I can hit it. So you just let it go, and hopefully the umpire either misses it or doesn't come back enough. Impossible to hit a backdoor curveball that's on the corner.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Home plate umpire today is Lance Barrett. Sean Barber is at first. Dale Scott, the crew chief, at second. And Bob Davidson is around at third.
Get it in there.
Maybe a tad too high. 3-2. Runners will be off. Now he's confident in that curveball to throw at 3-2. This is the guy you want, though, because Chris Bryant is on deck. And a liner to left field. David Lowe. It's over his head into the ivy. A run will score. Hendricks is being waved home. Galvis' throw to the plate on one hop is in time as Cameron Rupp tags the leg of Kyle Hendricks, and the side is retired. But the Cubs do score a run on the RBI double by Jason Hayward. Freddie Galvis, though, was able to pick that throw from David Lowe and make a clean toss to home plate. Cameron Rupp stayed with it. Gets the tag just as the foot gets to the plate. They have not held the defense, so the Cubs are not challenging. It's 3-0. Chicago on top. We'll be back with the top of the third after this. Trivia question. Log on to Phillies.com. Go to the fan section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. Matt, the question is, who was the last Cubs Rookie of the Year before Chris Bryant in 2015? I thought this guy was going to have himself a heck of a career. Answer will be revealed a little later on. Well, here's the play. This is tough for a left fielder, but David Lowe doesn't react properly right away.
No, it was a little hesitation of the stutter step coming in a hair, then all of a sudden he turns and throws. But watch the pickup right here by Freddie Galvis. That's a short hop, great exchange, strong throw, good tag. Is he out, or is he safe?
That's close. It's close.
The umpire calls him out, so it's a nice play. But that little hesitation in left field cost David Lowe for making a nice play in left field.
Well, as we go to the top of the third, the Phil's down 3-0. Kyle Hendricks, his team has given him a combined 6 runs of support in his last 3 starts. Today they've given him 3 runs already. And he delivers a strike to David Lowe. It'll be Lowe, Eichhoff, and Borges. Inside, 1-1. Toward the mound. Phillies return home after this weekend series against the Cubs. They'll take on the Washington Nationals in the 3-game series beginning Monday night at 7:05. In fact, all 3 games are at 7:05. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Nationals rotation sets up Roark, Ross, Scherzer against Hellickson, Nola, and Morgan for the Phils. Eichhoff will face the Cubs again as he takes down Low. 1 ball and no strikes. Or I should say the Brewers next weekend. Eichhoff hitting .222. Two balls and 1 strike. Eickhoff swinging bunt left to the mound. Hendricks up with it. And that'll bring Peter Borges to the plate. Well, Murph's numbers are right on. 50% ground ball outs, 4 ground ball outs, 3 strikeouts for Hendricks. Borges was 2 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. 212, a home run, 9 RBIs.
Hendricks got away with the curveball right there. That was up in the zone. As soon as he threw it, he just dropped his head.
And a strike at the knees at 86 miles an hour. Side is retired in order. He's allowed an infield hit on a bunt by Odubel Herrera the first time through, but that is it as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Del Val Honda dealer or visit DelValHondaDealers.com. Buy Jefferson. Call 800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And buy your local Ford stores. Home half of the 3rd. It's 3-0. Cubs on top. Phillies fans all over the place. Tui Salome, who's part of our crew back in Philadelphia. There he is with the beard. He's now behind his wife, Lee. And all Lee wants to do is watch the baseball game, Jimmy. But he is solving the world's problems.
Boy, Tom, I see you left some good seats today.
Hey, there's not a bad seat in this place.
No, there's not.
Except if you're behind one of those poles. Jimmy is one of the good guys. We have a lot of great people on our crew. As the ball is fouled back. He said, this year I'm coming to Chicago again. He was here last year and he sat in those seats over the Nuveen sign. He said, this year I'm coming to Chicago again, but I'm going to sit in the stadium. Chris Bryant grounded out his first time up. There's a strike, 0-2. Good pitch from Eickhoff.
Good location with that slider. Low and away, right where you want to be.
And he comes back with a curveball and gets him to wave at it. Rupp finishes the strikeout off for the 3rd strikeout of the day for Eickhoff.
Good curveball, getting ahead the first pitch is the key. Throwing a nice slider, second pitch, then all of a sudden coming back with that very good swing and miss curveball.
Bring Anthony Rizzo to the plate. Rizzo did not play yesterday It was a designed off day. It's only the third off day he has had. Third game where he hasn't started since the start of the 2015 season. So he wants to be in there every day. And he is hit by a pitch. Tonight at 6, reaction to week 2 of the Eagles OTAs and a look ahead to week 3. Plus new Eagles safety Rodney McLeod talks about his expectations for his first season in Philly. Watch Quick Slants tonight at 6 right here on CSN. I believe it hit him in the belly button, Matt, and it ricocheted and hit him off the hip, if I understood what he said to Ryan Howard. Ben Zobrist doubled his last time up. He has reached base safely now in 33 starts this year. He's had an unbelievable month of May. It's part of the reason why the Cubs are 15-9 in May. Theo Epstein was saying the other day that they targeted Zobrist even though he was going to be 35 early this season. He turned 35 2 days ago. He said because he's one of those players who just keeps himself in great shape and doesn't stop working. Sometimes as you get older, you stop working. Well, he works even harder to keep his body in shape and seems to be getting better with age. The Royals are in agreement with that. They acquired him last year in the World Series. In the postseason overall, he had 20 hits in the postseason in 3 different series. The inside corner 1-2.
It's hard to believe back when he was in the Tampa organization, they had a hard time finding a place for him to play.
Well, he says that's one of the reasons why he's been successful this year, because although he understands Joe Madden wants him to be able to move around to other positions, because that's how he was in Tampa. He said he's basically been the second baseman this year, and he said that cuts his routine down because all he does is take ground balls at second base most of the time. He doesn't have to take fly balls as often during BP. He doesn't have to take ground balls at third or at short. He's played 44 games now at second base, and he said for some reason he's found it easier to get ready for a game now that he knows he's the everyday second baseman.
Makes sense. All I have to do is worry about 2 things: fielding a ground ball and hitting.
Popped up on the first base side. Ryan Howard able to make the catch. That one carried a little bit where it started.
Well, it did. It carried a little farther than expected, but it's not his ball. That's Cesar Hernandez's ball. Whenever your first baseman or your third baseman start backpedaling, that's where you need to come in as a shortstop and second base, take control. And it's the same as the middle infielder backpedaling in the outfield. If the outfielders see you backpedaling, that's where you take control.
So Laird just can't figure out the breaking stuff. That was a slider from Eichhoff. He fooled him on his curveball his last time twice. And it's 0-1.
Zobrist is actually lucky that ball was caught. He didn't run to first base.
Oh, I didn't even notice, really. So much for being the seasoned guy that they thought they had.
By the way, Rizzo getting a hit by a pitch last at bat. That's his 7th of the season. 30 last year. That Major League Baseball. Unbelievable. A lot of ice packs.
Well, I guess it's just the way he stands, but also dives into the pitch.
Correct.
0-2 pitch coming. Runner goes. Pitch is outside. Throw to second by Rupp is in time. Sign is retired. 2-4 on the putout. They're holding the defense for a moment. Joe Maddon is waiting to see if they should challenge this or not.
Go ahead and challenge him. You'll lose it.
Looked like he did get him on the foot. Yeah, Joe Maddon just said he's out. So the inning is over. No runs, no hits, and nobody left. We'll go to the fourth. It's 3-0 Cubs. Unmatched quality on their Jet Intelligent toner cartridges. Print up to 1/3 more pages. Get yours from who but WB Mason today and experience the difference. Nobody beats WB on HP. Cubs fans certainly have the bragging rights, at least at this point in this series and this season for that matter. Phillies come in 4 games over 500, 2.5 games out in the National League East. Even though they lost 2 of 3 to the Tigers and lost the first game here, they've only lost a half game in the standings since they left Philadelphia. Odubel Herrera will lead it off. It's 1 ball and no strikes. Odubel bunted his first time up and reached on a hit. That's the only hit today for the Phils, but then he was picked off first. Inside, 2-1. I asked Odubel today if when he arrived at Wrigley Field if he thought at all about the catch he made last year in Cole Hamels' no-hitter. He hits that one out towards center field. Not as deep as where he was last year at the end of the no-hitter. And he said he didn't think about it until he walked out towards center field to take fly balls during yesterday's first batting practice. He said then it sort of flashed back into his head, and he kind of went back to the spot where he made the catch. And I said, what do you remember about that play? And he said, I remember the wind. As Galvis tries to bunt and he bunts it foul. It's 0-1. But an outstanding rookie year for Odubel Herrera. That was a moment that will always be ingrained in his mind.
That is not a strike. This is a great catch.
Yeah, here's the final out. What do you remember most about it? The wind.
The flop.
Galvis hooks it into right field, a base hit. Second hit for the Phillies.
Well, we talk about how important it is to use those legs. See how he used his legs? He stayed on that backside. It was actually a pitch way out of the zone. If he would have came up off that back leg, he would have swung and missed or hit a weak ground ball back to the pitcher. That's why it's so important for guys that aren't overpowering to stay on that backside and drive and use that hip going through the zone. If you think about it as a hitter, if I take a string and I take it across the top of my head or a yardstick or whatever it is, I should never be able to move that yardstick by coming up and bumping it. I should always have that yardstick going across the top of the head. So if I have that yardstick or the string across the top of my head, as soon as I do this, I'm coming out of my stance. I need to stay down here and go this way and never be able to move that camera or move that thing on top of your head. That's what you mean by staying on the backside. Once you come up, the whole strike zone moves and your swing changes.
I thought that at bat, where you pointed it out, that was the perfect at bat to show that, because he just stayed the entire time.
Right. And honestly, it should be that way with every pitcher, but more so with the guy that's not overpowering and likes to throw a lot of junk up there with his changeup.
Terrell blocks it. It's 2-1.
But it is so hard as a hitter to remind yourself, okay, stay back, trust your hands, don't attack the baseball. Then all of a sudden the delivery starts. What do you want to do? You want to go after the guy. Like that. You want to go after him. You don't trust you lose the faith in your hands. Hitting power is not because you're a big guy and you can bench press 350. It's a big, the home run guys are guys that have tremendous hands and proper technique by making that contact and then exploding your hips to the zone.
Got a piece of it to stay alive. But it remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. Galvis goes back to first. It's only the second time today that Hendricks has worked out of the stretch, and the first time he cleared the bases quickly with a pickoff of Odubel Herrera. Montero throws behind Galvis. 3-2. All right, you got a guy that does strike out. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. You still thinking about moving Galvis here?
I would. I'd like to see him in motion. And we talk about the first game. Sitting back, well, keep on putting the pressure on people.
He does not go. The ball is poked out toward left. It's playable for Soler. 2 away. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Ryan Howard, who has good career numbers in this ballpark, is 2 for 15 on this road trip. Struck out his first time up. He's a .314 hitter here at Wrigley Field. inside, and it's 2-1.
You know, I've been watching Ryan for the whole year, especially lately when he's been struggling very bad. His front foot was getting down so early before. It looks like he's changed it a little bit.
Out to shallow left field. And Soler.
So we talked about trying to get your foot down early. He was getting his foot down very early. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get that little motion going on where everything's going in one little click. That way you have a better swing.
We'll go to the bottom of the fourth. 3-0 Cubs. Visit buyatoyota.com to find your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phillies. Bottom of the fourth inning. It's 3-0 Cubs on top. They scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second. And now it'll be Jorge Soler, Miguel Montero, and Addison Russell. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. It's time for our Coors Light Cold Hard Fact, presented by Clean Crisp Coors Light. The Cubs have recorded at least a .500 record for each of Joe Maddon's first 8 months as a manager. The last time that happened for the Cubs back in 1984 through 85. Jim Frye was the manager at that point. So success underneath Joe Maddon for sure. He's been very good for these guys.
Joe Maddon, the Hazleton, Pennsylvania products, and Lafayette College. 1 ball and 1 strike to Soler. Jim Frye, who was an excellent skipper here in Chicago during his time, had some good success under him. Ryan Sandberg used to talk about Jim Frye and what kind of an impact he had on him and as a player. 2 balls and 1 strike to Soler. Soler struck out looking his first time up. Off the end of the bat. Slow roller. Eichhoff has it. 1-3 on the putout. Murph, by the way, where are you? I don't see you down next to the dugout.
I am not down by the dugout. I've made my way up to section 409. What great seats, by the way, down the left field line here at Wrigley Field. And I've found about, I guess, about 50 of our fans, Philadelphia Phillies fans, that are on the Phillies vacation trip out here. There's about 110, 120 all together on this trip, seeing Wrigley Field and seeing the city of Chicago. So I decided to join them for a little bit. I'm almost up at your level at this point, Tom.
Who's the little fella in front of you?
The little fella in front of me, his name's Greg Lazinski. Perhaps perhaps you know him. And there's another guy in front of him named Scott Palmer. He's also here.
That's a little fella.
And his lovely wife to his right.
Yeah, Kathy's here as well.
Hello, Bull.
They're saying hi to you, Bull. Bull says hi to back home. And to Stairsy. And to Tom.
This is Bull's former stomping grounds. Napersville products. Played for the White Sox after playing for the Phillies. The ball's 2 strikes to Miguel Montero. He struck out looking. downstairs. It's 1-2. Trying to get him with the breaking ball. Instead, it was in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yep. Third changeup today. Is that what it was? It's only been 2 or 3. They've been in good spots.
The problem is he's not getting any swings at it.
He got a swing there. Davidson punches out Miguel Montero. Literally looked like a prize fighter. Putting a right cross in there.
You know, sorry, Tom. And when I say about not getting swings at the changeup, as we see right here, this is the fastball to the zone. You just can't hold up. It's the fact that he doesn't throw enough of them. So when people see, when you recognize the pitch, it kind of fools you because you haven't seen it enough. Now all of a sudden, if you get up there like throwing 7 or 8, 9, 10% of the time, now you start thinking, oh, he has a changeup. But sometimes when you only throw 3 or 4 changeups in a row, it fools hitters so bad, you don't react to it. That's the reason why you don't get the swing and misses.
Right, so he throws the slider on the first pitch to Russell and then comes back with the curveball. So you throw the slider for a strike and Russell's thinking, huh, that's another pitch he has.
Exactly. You have to put as many pitches as you can. His slider's good. His changeup is actually very good. It's down in the zone. I just want to see, don't become that 2-pitch pitcher. Even though your curveball is very good and your fastball actually has been getting hit hard today, mix in your other pitches.
There is the fastball, and it's hit foul down the left field line.
Again, great location. It's a strike with late movement. What can you do with that pitch? Hit it off your foot? Hit a foul ball like you did? If you try to keep it fair, you break your bat.
Slow roller left side, picked up by Galvis. Very smooth. An easy inning for Jared Eichhoff. So Eichhoff has retired the Cubs in order. We'll go to the 5th. It's 3-0. Chicago's on top. Night of the season is coming up on Thursday. It's a 7:05 first pitch against the Milwaukee Brewers. Hatfield Dollar Dog Nights. If you want to get your dollar dogs, it's the last time you can do it this Thursday. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. It's part of a 4-game series.
Smiley going to be there?
Smiley has to be there. It's the swan song. Cameron Rupp will lead it off. He struck out his last time up. One of 4 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks. No relation to Kyle Kendrick. And it's no balls and 1 strike. Center field. Sounded like he broke his bat. Dexter Fowler makes the catch for the first out. Cesar Hernandez is coming up. Well, he's having his way right now, Matt, with the Phillies hitters.
He is, and you watch the right-handed hitters approach for a guy that's not overpowering. And I watch these right-handed hitters strong. Not one guy in the lineup right now looks like he can pull a baseball. I don't know what it is, if he's working that outside corner a lot. It just looks like they cannot reach that. Like that last pitch was a changeup away.
Off the end of the bat foul. 0-2.
Some guys don't like moving around the batter's box. If I'm facing a guy that's throwing 86 to 88, 89, I'm going to smother home plate. I'm going to stand on top of home plate and dare him throw inside.
Well, we just threw inside on the inside part of the plate. Cesar is down looking. Cesar griped a little bit about that. From our vantage point, it looked like a good pitch.
It's a strike. It's the same pitch that Freddie Galvis struck out his first at bat. It's a front door seeker. And Montero doesn't even watch his glove. Stays there, hits his glove. It's square in the chest. It's a good pitch.
I think everybody would want that pitch. Let's say if Aaron Nola was out on the mound, we'd want that pitch. David Lowe tapped one back to the mound his first time up. He's 0 for 1. And a base hit back through the middle. Phillies have 3 hits today. 1 bunt single and a single by Freddie Galvis to right, and a single now to center by David Lowe. Here's Jared Eichhoff. Eichhoff tapped one up the third base line his first time up. Off the hands, slow roller to shortstop. Side is retired. 6-4 on the put out at second base. Another quiet inning for the Phillies offensively. We've played 4.5 out to the bottom of the 5th. 3-0 Cubs on top. For our Citizens Bank minor league report. And we look back to what happened yesterday. Ben Lively in his first AAA start, from all reports, pitched very well. Gave up 2 runs early, but still 7 innings, 5 hits. You'll take that every single time. 1 walk and 5 strikeouts. Aaron Brown had a good day for Reading. They defeated New Hampshire 9-8 in 13 innings. Clearwater defeated Lakeland 2-1 in 10. And Jose Pujols, who's had a decent month of May, he helped Lakewood win its ball game. Check out the Phillies minor league statistics and everything. Each of the teams has its own website, or you can go to, if you want to go to MLB.com, you find out about the Phillies. If you want to find out about the minor league teams, you go to MILB.com. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. It's 3-0 Cubs on top. Pujols 9 home runs, 31 runs batted in for Lakewood. His average is at 251. The biggest thing for him, it looks like, just from a numbers standpoint, he's just got to cut down on his strikeouts. But power-wise, he's got some power. He's got 18 extra base hits.
Plus, he has to be a little more consistent. He has a couple good games.
Yeah.
And then goes 4 or 5 games not very well.
It has to say something, though, Matt, that he's already eclipsed his home run total from last year. He's only 20 years old. No 0-2 pitch coming to Kyle Hendricks, and he's down on strikes. He throws him a slider. 5 strikeouts for Eichhoff. Back to the top of the order for Dexter Fowler. Fowler homered his first time up, extended his hitting streak to 5 straight. Flied to center his last time.
There's a good changeup. There's the swing we finally get off a changeup.
Tried it again. So at a Major League scoreboard, Boston leads Toronto 8-4. Bottom of the 7th, Xander Bogaerts and Travis Shaw have each homer. American League East standings has the Red Sox a game up over Baltimore. Yankees have played better over the last 8 or 9 days. 5.5 games out. It's a tight division. 3-1 pitch. Boy, he threw a pitch earlier in this at bat that was better than that one. But he'll take the strike, but I know he wanted it earlier too. Got him. Yep, he threw every pitch he has in that at bat to Fowler. He has 6 strikeouts now.
That's a very good curveball. Knowing that you have the confidence one of throwing that pitch, he's getting on top of that curveball. He's getting a very good late break and downward break on that curveball.
After that first inning, and even the second, he did allow the run in the second inning. He is really settled in to find all of his pitches. Hayward has 2 doubles today.
Backdoor slider.
Yep. Why not? Just, I mean, try to throw it.
I agree. And the 1-0 pitch was read maybe a little low below the knees. Why groove a fastball?
That'll be foul on the right field line and out of the ball. Not as much activity during games on Sheffield, but somebody was just going to get a heck of a surprise.
That's how you use your lower half, by the way, Tom.
Yeah, oh yeah. Rockets foul. Phillies bullpen doesn't play the same non-flinching game as the Cubs bullpen. was some flinching going on down there. Line drive, foul.
Nice play by that bat boy.
Whoop. That lady nearly went swimming on the field. Over to first base, and Eichhoff wins the battle, and the side is retired in order. Back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings. Eichhoff has not allowed a hit since the second. We'll go to the sixth. Is showing how value can be found in the Rule 5 drafts. Tyler Goodell struggled to start the season, but during the last 2 weeks has found his swing. And because of its finding his name in Pete Buchanan's lineup on a more frequent basis. In addition to his offense, he has handled his outfield duties well, including his perfect throw from left field when he connected with Cameron Rupp on this game-ending play, capturing another Phillies win. This California kid is starting to shine, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Top of the sixth inning, 3-0 Cubs. And Peter Borges will lead it off. It'll be Borges, Odubel Herrera, and Freddie Galvis against Kyle Hendricks. First pitch swinging out to shortstop. Edison Russell, 1 away. So a quick out. Odubel Herrera will take his time getting to the plate. Kyle Hendricks has not won a ball game in 3 consecutive starts. He's 0-2 during that time with an ERA of 3.63. Today, though, he has controlled the Phillies offense, which everybody knows what the Phillies offense is, but today he's made it look even a little softer than usual. Gentlemen going a little old school.
Just threw a cutter inside. Let's see if he follows it up with another fastball inside. Let's see, he doubles up. Now this is where you almost got to think backwards. 2-1, not overpowering. 87.
But that was his fastball, 87.
Right. It was actually a very good pitch to hit too, right down the middle.
Galvis waits on deck. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Odubel. Sprays that out towards short. He was fooled, which is what's happened most of the day. Time now for the Jeep Stuff the Fans trivia question. I don't think I'm going to fool you today. At least John DeSangro is not going to fool you today. The question was, who was the last Cubs Rookie of the Year before Chris Bryant in 2015?
Soto.
Giovanni Soto is correct. Back in 2008. Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of the Phillies prize pack.
And I agree with you. I thought he was going to have a very good and long career.
Yeah, he followed up that rookie season with a not so good second year. At 218 with 11 home runs the second year. His rookie of the year season. Now he had played in parts of 3 years before that. But his rookie year 285 with 23 home runs, 86 RBIs. And Galvis is hit by a pitch. Sounded like it hit him right in the knee. No, not the knee.
Right in the shin. I don't care if it's a fastball or a breaking ball. That one's not smart.
Scott Sheridan, the Phillies athletic trainer, walking him up the first base line. It's going to take him a little bit of time. All right, he says he's okay, so Scott will turn and head back to the dugout. And Maikel Franco, who is 0 for 2, he's grounded out. He's also flied out to left. Will be the batter. Whacks it foul into the second deck. And it's 0-1. Franco on this road trip is 6 for 15. Yesterday hit an RBI single, infield single. Also had a sac fly. Not as fortunate today. Pops it up. Rizzo over toward the dugout is under it. And the side is retired. Phillies go down quietly in their half of the sixth inning. We played 5.5. We'll head to the bottom of the sixth. 3-0 Cubs on top. Baseball is brought to you by WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. Buy Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales event. Toyota, let's go places. And buy Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. From Wrigley Field in Chicago, along with Matt Stairs and Greg Murphy, I'm Tom McCarthy. That is Jared Eichhoff, who allowed a couple runs in the first, one in the second, but since that time has done a nice job. He's retired the side in order in each of the last 2 innings. Chris Bryant will lead it off. He's 0 for 2. He's grounded out and he is struck out. Takes outside. It's 1-0. Wrigley Field, which was doused yesterday with 2 different storms, a 56-minute rain delay and a 37-minute rain delay. They used 82 bags of Diamond Dry, 83 bags of Diamond Dry yesterday, Matt, and that is an official number. They cleared out 2 pallets and started a second pallet. 40 bags of Diamond Dry per pallet, and that one is right through the shift. And into left field for Bryant, a leadoff single. Anthony Rizzo will come up. Grounds crew said it took him an hour or 2 after the game to get the field back in shape, but today was just a normal preparation day. So it's not slippery over there at first base, Murph, but the Phillies will still keep an eye on what Chris Bryant's doing as far as base running goes.
They absolutely will, Tom. It's something that they've been thinking about and talking about since spring training and working on since the very first day of spring training. And that is controlling the running game, helping, the catchers throw out base runners, which was a huge problem last year for the Phillies. So they will do just what Eichhoff just did right there and chase back the runners because they need to keep these guys close. I talked to John McLaren about it, the Phillies catching coach, and he says it makes all the difference in the world for his guys behind the plate to be able to know that the pitchers are going to help keep them close by getting the throwovers that are called by the bench more often than not. And it has allowed Cameron Rupp, who already threw out a base runner today, and Carlos Ruiz to be much better at that this year because, as you guys remember, it was certainly a problem a year ago.
It was, and there's a couple of things that happen as you see the numbers for the catchers. Ruiz 54.5% of the time throwing runners out, which is well above average. Rizzo takes a fastball up. It's 1-1. If there's a runner at second base, you'll normally see the Phillies pitchers turn back toward that base runner the first time, and they'll do it just about every time. Some of it is pattern that other teams pick up on, but they're not going to stop doing it because they want it ingrained in the pitchers' minds that they have to take care of the base runner. 1-2 as Rizzo fouls that one toward the Phillies dugout.
Well, and I will say this, that I've watched whenever they have a leadoff guy get on, doesn't matter who it is. We've seen Yadier Molina at first base. We have seen Bryant right there get on first base. Before they throw a pitch to the second hitter, they step off and throw to first base saying, doesn't matter who you are, we're going to keep you close.
Yeah, in fact, if it's the opposing pitcher, they'll still do it.
Yeah, it has been a commitment, and like I said, from day one. And John McLaren, obviously, who wasn't here last year, he said that when he arrived this year and talked to Pete McCann, he said one of the first things they talked about was what they needed to do a better job of keeping these runners close because it was a problem last year. You mentioned Chuch's numbers. He threw out just 6 base runners all of last year. He was 6 for 52. He's already 6 for 11 this year. So.
Well, Rizzo goes down on strikes. Slider from Jared Eichhoff. 7 strikeouts for Eichhoff. And 1 away for Ben Zobrist. Zobrist is 1 for 2. He doubled his first time up. And he popped out to Howard at first base his last time. Strikeout was big. I mean, you have to be careful with Zobrist here, but you don't have to be as careful now that you got Rizzo. Well, maybe you have to be a little more careful. Borges' throw is cut off by Galvis, and Bryant slides in safely at third. 2 hits today for Zobrist. And now runners on first and third with 1 out, and Soler is due up. you still had to pitch him a little bit better than that, but you had a little more wiggle room because you were able to get Rizzo.
Right. You still want to make a quality pitch.
Yeah.
You still want to lay a pitch down there in the middle of the plate and let him hit a line drive to right. By the way, nice job by Bryant going first to third.
Zobrist had 129 hits last year. Well, guess what? He is on pace to obliterate that mark this year. Here's Soler. The Phillies will play for 2. Down 3-0. They obviously can't afford another run to score, but they can't afford a huge inning. Soler is 0 for 2. They fooled him with breaking pitches this entire day. Fastball just a bit outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That pitch right there is how you control the running game. Fastball, slide step. Changing up the look, hold a little longer, quick pitch to the guy at first base. Just don't let him get in a routine of 1001, 1002. Okay, I'm going to throw. Or Mississippi's, whatever you say.
2-1. Slider. So he started him off with a curveball and threw it over for a strike. And now gets him to even the count up at 2-2 with another breaking pitch. This time the slider.
Tough feeling when you're a hitter and you step in that batter's box and you're swinging at the baseball no matter what. You're not picking up the spin, the rotation, the velocity.
Smothered by Rupp. Keeps the runner at first base. He had more of a chance to advance than the runner from third. And it's full 3-2.
That's a great block right there.
You got Bryant at third and Zobrist at first.
You got to think he's going to throw his bread and butter right here.
Has to, right?
Throw the curveball. Slider.
Under pitches now for Jared Eichhoff. Curveball just a bit inside, ball 4. Just didn't get the break. And now the bases are loaded for Miguel Montero. Now he's had an easy time with Montero. A couple strikeouts today. Cameron Rupp heading out. Bob McClure's about to come out. Bob did an about face to the dugout, so that cut into his time out on the mound. So he starts to sprint out and then slows up. Well, this is a big spot in the game. The Cubs already have a good sized lead for a Phillies offense that has struggled this year to even get to 3 runs on average per game. Bailey is warming up in the pen. Keep Eichhoff in at least for this batter. Phillies Baseball Academy is open for business. There are baseball and softball camps for girls and boys aged 6 to 14. It includes official Baseball Academy uniform, a trip to Citizens Bank Park. There are a ton of weeks and different locations to choose from. Call 610-520-3400 or go to the community section at Phillies.com for more information. Montero is struck out once swinging and once looking. Swing and a miss at the first pitch. Slider's catching up to the curveball here today. See his numbers with the bases loaded. In the dirt, spins away for a moment from Rupp. You have to have an eagle eye not to call that a strike or even take a hack at it. That must have been just below the knees of Montero. Rupp held it there for a moment. Big spot for the 25-year-old trying to get out of a bases loaded jam, already down 3-0.
This is the biggest pitch right here.
Off the plate, up the first base line. Eichhoff's got it, goes to the first base bag, gets the out. A run scores, 4-0 Cubs. And runners on second and third for Addison Russell, who I'm assuming the Phillies will walk intentionally here. Although maybe not, we'll see. I don't think Hendricks is done, so I doubt they're going to pinch hit for the Cubs.
No, the guy in the bullpen is just warming up.
He's just starting, yeah. Richards has just started to throw. Now they got a lot of Tommy La Stella out in the on-deck circle. So they're going to go after Addison Russell. Russell takes a breaking ball. It's 0-1. Just be showing pinch hitter.
That's an option.
Yeah. But he's only thrown 70 pitches.
Joe Madden baseball.
It's
4-0.
true. There could be a lot of show me going on. Clayton Richards could be showing something out just by throwing in the bullpen. And Stella could be showing them something just by being in the on-deck circle. Russell takes outside, 2-1.
It's a good pitch.
Very small margin of error for Jared Eichhoff as far as the home plate umpire is concerned. Russell singled through the hole on the left side his first time up, and then grounded out to Galvis his last time up. Curveball hit out toward right center field. Borges on the run. He'll get there. He makes the catch, and the side is retired. However, the Cubs tack on one more. They leave 2 runners in scoring position. We'll head to the 7th, 4-0 Chicago. for your Delaware Valley Honda dealers game summary.
That wasn't a repeat, by the way. That was from earlier.
We go to the top of the 7th inning. It's 4-0 Cubs on top. Freddie Galvis, a single and hit by pitch. He's been on base twice. Phillies haven't managed a whole lot of offense. Dexter Fowler, he led off the bottom of the 1st with his 16th career home run, leadoff home run. Jared Eichhoff, I don't know what to say about today. 6 innings where he had really good stuff at times. I guess if you could take the first 2 innings away, which you can, you might look at the start a little differently. Still has to get off to a better start in this game. But beyond that, I like the way he mixed in his pitches.
I do too. I think minus the wind blowing home run to left.
Ground ball right side. Zobrist throws out Ryan Howard. Cameron Rupp will be the batter. I know you don't want to give up 4 runs, but there are times when you do, and it's not a bad outing, but your offense, it's magnified so much because the Phillies just haven't been scoring a whole lot of runs this year.
Right, and I think if you ask one pitch that he could take back early in the game was that Zobrist fastball where he hit for a double down the left field line for an RBI, where you have Soler, who was the 2 teens.
Yeah.
The start of the game.
Hitting 214.
Yeah, 214 the start of the game. So that's probably one pitch that he would like to have back and redo again.
Cameron Rupp takes a strike. It's 0-2. By the way, we were talking about the end of the bottom of the 6th inning. If they had walked Addison Russell, I still don't know if Tommy LaStella would have pinch hit for the Cubs.
No chance. And you know what? This is what I would have done. I'm not a manager, but I would have walked him no matter what, make him take this pitcher out of the game and bring somebody else in, because we are not having any success right now.
That's a good
versus
point.
him. So if they want to bring in Clayton Richards, please do.
Yeah.
Because this guy here, we're going to need some time. He's giving me a headache.
Yeah, 6 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks today. He was talking about that kind of stuff today, just trying to outfox the other manager when it comes to moves, certain moves. And I can't remember what it stemmed from. Oh, I know what it was. It was yesterday when the Cubs had to lift Pedro Strop after the first rain delay. He had not officially faced a batter. So Pete went out and asked the home plate umpire, Bob Davidson, hey, listen, he's got to come back out after 57 minutes and finish the at-bat at least, because he has to officially face a batter. But Bob Davidson said no because of the rain and the delay. Cesar Hernandez pulls one out toward right field. It'll be an extra base hit for the Phillies, their first extra base hit of the day. That's a 2-out double. But it went on to, he was telling different stories about when he was a minor league manager or when he managed even in winter ball. He would do certain things just to try to get the other manager to burn 2 hitters or a pitcher during a particular time of the game. David Lowe singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2.
Nice play. He caught that with confidence.
Off the hands, popped up. Right around the mound. Zobrist, the second baseman, will make the catch. Side is retired, no runs, 1 hit, 1 man left in scoring position for the Phillies. Time to stretch here at Wrigley Field, 4-0 Chicago.
Let me hear you. A 1.
and show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deals. So get the StubHub app today. Andrew Bailey will take over here in the bottom of the 7th inning. So Jared Eichhoff is done after 6. Swing and a miss by Kyle Hendricks, who is 1 for 2. And 2. Eichhoff goes 6 innings. He scatters 8 hits, 4 earned runs. He walked 1, struck out 7. Swing and a miss. 3 pitches, 1 away.
If you look back in the game where Hendricks got that knock in the 2nd inning, followed up by Fowler's 5-ball to center, you're out of that inning, but all of a sudden then Hayward gets a chance to hit. It's a double.
Yeah, I think your point about the Zobrist at bat in the 1st, where you could have maybe worked around him, even though it was the 1st, worked around him and went on against Soler. And that at bat right there, it's true. Over to third base, backhanded by Franco. 2 outs. Now, with all that said, the other part of it is what we've talked about for most of this year. The Phillies have been able to get by, at least up to this point, 4 games over 500, with an offense that is toward the bottom in Major League Baseball. But it's tough against teams like this when you fall behind. And even the Tigers team the Phillies faced at the beginning of this road trip, it's tough to come back against those kind of teams. Hayward takes a strike, 0-1. Every time the Phillies pitchers retire, the opposition 1-2-3, which Eichhoff did twice today. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Cameron's done a very nice job today behind home plate, blocking those baseballs, keeping them in front, especially the last inning. Got a runner on third a couple of times. Pitchers must love him, and Chooch do a great job. Hey, I can bounce this curveball no matter what. He's going to block it.
From last year to this year, I think his game has taken such a big leap. Certainly still things that every player wants to work on. Broke his back. Galvis is up with it at shortstop. And the side is retired. 1-2-3. The third 1-2-3 inning of the day for the Phillies staff. On to the 8th inning. Phil's down by 4. Baseball is brought to you by McDonald's. Jumpstart your morning with a hot or iced McCafe coffee, now starting at just $1. And by the Pennsylvania Lottery, new instant game, Pennsylvania Millions. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. It'll be one and done for Andrew Bailey. As we go to the top of the 8th inning, Andres Blanco will lead it off. Time now for our Hyundai defensive play of the game.
Well, we're going to talk about Cameron Rupp having a very good day behind home plate. Coming up and throwing an absolute missile to get Rizzo trying to steal second base. Strong to the right on the money. Good take by Hernandez. That is your Hyundai defensive play of the game, brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
Well, as we begin the top of the 8th inning, that's Baez who takes over at third base. Moving from third to left is Chris Bryant. And the first pitch to Andres Blanco is in for a strike. It's 0-1. Baez will bat after Zobrist. Tells you a lot about Jorge Soler's defensive ability. That with a 4-run lead, Joe Madden wants to tighten it up out in left field. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Hendricks still dealing here in the 8th inning. That was only the 84th pitch of the day for him. He's gotten a lot of quick outs today. He's mixed in 6 strikeouts with a whole host of ground ball outs. Back toward the box, flag down by Kyle Hendricks. Ball got loose from the bullpen just as that underhand toss goes to first. And one away. Time to get updated on what's going on around Major League Baseball. Here's Greg Murphy.
All right, thanks, Tom. It's our greater coverage of baseball presented by T-Mobile. And Troy Tulowitzki is back on the DL. The Toronto shortstop landed there today with a right quad strain. He actually hurt it on Tuesday, but was trying to nurse his way through, wasn't able to do it. He ends up on the DL. The New York Mets, well, they added a veteran today, James Loney, in a trade with the Padres. Loney has been down in their AAA farm system and playing very well down there, so they'll bring him in hopes of filling that void that is left by the injured Lucas Duda. And Xander Bogaerts is, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, he had a home run today for the Red Sox. That is now a 21-game hit streak for Xander Bogaerts, of course, coming off the heels of Jackie Bradley Jr., who just finished his hit streak at 29. So the Red Sox watching another streak. It continues today, guys. That's what's going on.
Well, let's see if he handles it the same way that Jackie Bradley did, which was great. With all the media attention that was starting to grow around Bradley. Back over the mound, gloved by Russell. 2 outs. Boy, this is one of the easier games we've seen a pitcher have this year. I mean, am I right about that? It just seems like he is not even breaking a sweat out on the mound.
I would agree. I mean, look at the pitch. Minus the 4th inning where he threw 18 pitches. In that inning, he had 3 fly balls and a single by Freddie Galvis.
Duble is 1 for 3. He's got great splits, 89 pitches total, 65 strikes, 24 balls. Ball got loose from the bullpen again. You told me today they're going to move those bullpens, huh?
Yes, they are. They're moving them out to in right field is going to be the visitors bullpen where the batting cages are, and the Cubs will be moved towards left field.
All right, so where the ATI is, that's the door, one of the doors to the batting cages. Fly ball out to left field, shallow left. Addison Russell's out, Bryant's in. And Russell will give way to Bryant. Fortunately, the wind took that out a few steps because they were about to collide. A 1-2-3 8th inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, 4-0. Cubs on top of the Phillies. former teammate Zach McMahon and the Colorado Rapids. Union versus Rapids tonight at 9 over on TCN. Nobody's left the bleachers. Actually, nobody's left the ballpark. They're looking at their watch thinking, well, we can't be in the bottom of the 8th inning. We are. And it's 4-0 Cubs on top. Elvis Araujo will take over for Andrew Bailey. He'll pitch the scoreless 7th inning. Chris Bryant takes a strike. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Center field, not deep. So it goes back towards center more, and 1 out. Anthony Rizzo's coming up. Jimmy's still here. Why wouldn't he be? He loves this place.
Must be awful cold up there. The Eagles sweatshirt on.
Rizzo takes low. It's 1-0. I find it hard to believe that Anthony Rizzo, as good as he is, and he's good, that this is his 3rd organization. Started with the Red Sox, went to the Padres, and when Theo Epstein took over here in Chicago, he got him back. He was the one who originally drafted him in Boston. They traded Andrew Kashner for him. I think the Cubs have made out in the deal.
I would agree.
Even though his average is down 231, he still is producing. Good power numbers. On the inside corner, 1-2.
But they did say when he was younger, he was very difficult to help teach in hitting points.
He golfs that one out toward right center field. Long run for Odubel. He's there. And he makes the catch. And they also said that he struggled big time against left-handed pitching. He doesn't struggle as much against lefties.
And stubborn as he has his own way he wanted to hit, he felt comfortable and he wanted to stick with it. Then all of a sudden he opened up a little bit and realized, hey, there is people out there that know more than him towards hitting wise. I like the fact that he does change the stance, but he still takes an aggressive swing with 2 strikes.
Zobrist takes inside, 1 ball, no strikes. Rondon warming up in the bullpen. Two and 1 to Zobrist, who is 2 for 3 today. He has an RBI. Now has 599 RBIs in his career. He asked for time again. Swing and a miss. He got him. Clean inning for Elvis Araujo. Nice job by the bullpen. 6 up, 6 down. We'll go to the 9th inning. Kind of day when they call for last call, you order 10.
Better drink a little quicker, guys.
Delivery of the game, and so far it's the only run the Cubs have needed today.
Yeah, came back in the first inning. That Fowler on the 5th pitch of the game hits a high fly ball to left field. Wind blown in the right direction of Blozo ballpark for his 6th home run of the season. That is your WB Mason delivery of the game.
Well, Kyle Hendricks is coming out to try to pitch the complete game. He'll start things off against Freddie Galvis, who swings at the first pitch and hits a mile-high pop-up into shallow right field, and they don't see it. It drops between Hayward and Zobrist, and Galvis is at second with a misplayed double. I think one thought the other was there. I say I think because I don't know what happened there. They were nowhere near it.
Zobrist wasn't even close to it. He's yelling, he doesn't know where it is. Well, I've played right field in this ballpark, and that sun in right field is brutal.
Is it just because of the sky, the wind? What's the reason?
Because every time the ball is hit, for some reason later in the game, it goes through the sun or gets to that point. That's where the sun is. You're looking at it. That's why a lot of right fielders wear sunglasses.
One ball and one strike to Franco. By the way, for Hendricks, he only has one shutout in his career. So if he's able to finish this one off, his second. He has one shutout. That was the only complete game he's had in his career. Came last year against the Padres. It's now 2-1. Even though he's only thrown 95 pitches. Rondon is, or he was warming up. They actually have somebody else warming up now. It must be Grimm. Outside, 3-1. Grimm was stirred and was on top of the mound a little while ago. No, looks like Rondon. It's a right-hander. He's tall. 3-1 pitch. Back toward the middle, and Zobrist is there. One out. Coming up after the ball game, Ricky Metallico will be along to break down this afternoon's battle between the Phils and the Cubs. Only on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Post-Game Live. Steve Bucci will be hosting along with Ricky. A lot to talk about today. The Phillies' approach against Hendricks. And Jared Eichhoff struggles early on. Ryan Howard is 0 for 3, 2 for 17 on the road trip. Swing and a miss. Ryan's average is down to 156. Distribution of outs. It's close to what Murph was talking about earlier in the game. 41,000 plus on their feet. And Howard fouls it back to stay alive.
'74 strikes, 27 balls today.
Got him. Ball's in the dirt. Montero fires to first. Galvis is coming home. He'll score. It's a 4-1 ball game. The strikeout and the ball in the dirt allows Freddie Galvis to slide across home plate. 2 away.
Well, what also allowed him to be able to score on the throw to first base is they had that massive shift on. So Freddie Galvis was coming down the line. You can see how far he is right now. Secondary lead. He's waiting. And all of a sudden, once he turns and throws, he realizes he can get there because he's already halfway home.
Cameron Rupp fouls it off to the right. And it's 0-1. Freddie was not happy yesterday when John Lester was complaining about his movements down the third base line. He said, hey, listen, that's the way you play the game. He said, I'm not sure why he was so upset about it. He said, I should have stole home. He said, plus, he knew my back was to him when he was barking at me. He goes, Pap used to yell at you right at your face. 1-1, rolled on the ground to third, charging is Baez, and the ball game is over. The Cubs have taken the first 2 games of the series. Today, it's somewhat of a masterpiece put together by Kyle Hendricks, who pitches his second career complete game as Chicago wins it 4-1 to take the first 2 games of this 3-game series. Phillies do manage a run in their half of the 9th inning, but that's pretty much it this afternoon offensively. 5 hits, 3 singles and 2 doubles. And our Chevrolet player of the game was right-hander Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle Hendricks kept the hitters off balance. I mean, really, after picking off Herrera in the first inning, you could throw that front door sinker to left-handers. His control was tremendous. We all know Murph did a hit earlier by him being a ground ball pitcher, and that never changed. He threw a lot of change-ups down the zone, a lot of weak ground balls, a lot of actually 1 to 3, and 3 of those comebackers. But I thought today he just kept the hitters off balance. When our guys were looking something hard, he pulled the string something soft. He did something soft. We were looking hard. So that's why he's the Chevrolet player of the game.
So the flag will go up with a W on it here at Wrigley Field. The Cubs win it 4-1. We'll be back to Chicago to wrap things up right after this.